Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Sports Insight with your host Almar Khan. And as you know, we guys are definitely going to provide you the best and the best news about sports from all across the globe. You surely can reach us on our social media handles, which is at the rate of Indus News Sports. This goes out for the Twitter side and the Instagram side. But what I'll do is I'll surely move on to the headlines first. Yes, Pakistan Super League Season 6 about to begin on February the 20th. And from the world of Australian Open, Djokovic actually makes it through to the semifinals after a 4-set win against Alexander Zverev. And yes, from the world of NBA, Boston Celtics actually managed to defeat the Denver Nuggets by 112-99. All right, so those were the headlines, and yes, we're talking about PSL to begin with. It's about to start. The PSL Season 6 begins on the 20th of February. But not to forget, the PCB has actually urged the PSL teams to officially ensure that they follow the COVID-19 protocols. So important thing about COVID-19 protocols is this has really impacted a lot of people, a lot of players, a lot of situations. But anyways, to further discuss this upcoming thing and what really happened with Pakistan versus South Africa, I have with us a very senior journalist, Leena Aziz, who is Asia's first women commentator with regards to cricket. Leena, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alamdar.
All right,
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Leena, I'll just come up to this very interesting thing that's really developing, and the COVID-19 situation, the protocols. As I discussed, the PSL is on its way, and all the players will definitely be following it. We saw how Pakistan versus South Africa went, and how de Kock's body language was obviously stressed out. So I just want to discuss with you with regards to how much impact is this COVID situation and the bio bubble affecting the teams and the players.
Look, Alamdar, we're all social animals, essentially. Even when we're playing cricket, after the day finishes, we're playing a test match. People, cricket players go out, meet their friends, they're invited to dinner. I've been associated with the game like 25 years, so, I know what happens. But, during the last 1 year, there've been, when you're in a bubble, you can't meet people. You can't even have dinner together. The teammates can't even have dinner together. You know what happened with Pakistani players in New Zealand. They were only having dinner together and just joking around with each other in the lobby and all. But it was then of course there was a whole incident about that.
Right.
So now life has changed for all of us. You can't meet people, can't eat together, can't do anything which was normal till about a year and a half ago.
Right.
So of course that's going to take its toll on our minds. And that de Kock today announced that he wants to take a mental health break,
exactly.
Which means that he is so affected by the bubble that he wants to take a break from this. Moeen Ali yesterday said that he is leaving the English tour from India and going home.
Right.
And that's also because he wants to be with his family. So obviously, cricket players and tennis players are all affected by it. Everyone, all of us, we all want that this COVID should end now.
Right.
And so we could just resume that, normal life. So, of course, that then affects our performances, everything. And that is what the players are going through. It's not an easy thing for them.
Right. Even if we talk about how Pakistan went to New Zealand, obviously it was a comparatively different team. Like you discussed, we were going through this COVID situation. Not only them, if you remember, Australia, there was an issue with India-Australia situation as well. Australia 36 all out, but then came back at the second test. But then they were having issues with regards to the third test because there were a lot of restrictions from the Australian government. And even initially, when Australian Open was about to start, they were delaying it. And there's so many tournaments that have actually been delayed. But let's come to the point when Pakistan played against South Africa. In Pakistan, like you said, de Kock is taking the break. How do you see it affecting not only de Kock, obviously he's going to take a break, but the point is, we're also invited to go visit on a tour to South Africa. How much impact would it have on our team members?
Look, we'll have to wait and see because there is a new variant in South Africa which is affecting the whole world. So when Pakistan goes to South Africa, we'll have to wait and see what kind of SOPs we'll have to follow, what kind of restrictions we'll be under. Hopefully by then, if it's a month away, so it's going to be after the PSL. So let's hope that the whole COVID situation is like sort of eased down a little. So then, players are in better mental health to perform at their utmost best.
Right.
So of course, South Africa is going to be a challenge, but then that's what I'm saying, that we'll have to wait and see, because with this COVID, the thing is that situations are changing every second, third day, and
Right.
now the vaccine's out. So if the players are vaccinated by then, it's going to be much easier.
Right. So, your quick take on South Africa versus Pakistan when they toured here in Pakistan managed to have that clean sweep, literally clean sweep. Obviously, we lost one of the T20s, but how do you see the overall team and the overall management?
Look, if you talk about the test matches, Pakistan played really well. There were times when Pakistan was under trouble. A few partnerships were underway by South Africa, and at that point seemed like Pakistan was going to be in trouble then. But then Hassan Ali came with his reverse swing. The first test, both the spinners bowled really well. Yasir Shah with his leg spin, and Googly did really well.
Right.
So, and Numan Ali did really well. And Shaheen Shah has been constantly doing well for Pakistan. So
Right.
the first test belonged to the spinners. But then the second test, Hassan Ali came back with his really nice seam position. He reverse swung the ball. So then we did manage to win that test series. And then, of course, the T20 belonged to Pakistan once again. There were once again close situations where South Africa could have, defeated Pakistan. But then one of the matches they won, which was fantastic. But the other two, Pakistan won. The best thing for me during that T20 series was the fight that the lower order put up
Right.
for Pakistan. Even in the test matches, the tail wagged, as they
Right.
say. And
Right.
then, of course, I've been as a journalist, as a cricket commentator, I have been, sort of pushing Zahid Mahmood's inclusion, and he bowled his leg spinners really well. And again, once again, he had a really nice googly, so he did well for Pakistan. He was the find as far as the T20 was concerned. And the best thing that happened to Pakistan in a while was Rizwan's
Muhammad
form.
Rizwan.
We saw
Exactly,
that he played
exactly what I was about
so
to
well.
say. This Muhammad Rizwan. Yes.
Yeah. So he played so well, and I've been saying that the only place that he can bat well is the opening in the opening slot,
Right.
and that is because he's the sort of player, when the field is in the power plays and the 30-yard circle, you can just, if you have the cover drives and the drives, once you sort of play your shots between in the gaps, and you beat the 30-yard circle fielder, you will get a 100% result for that. You'll get boundaries. So end of power play, if say Rizwan was on 25 individual score and Pakistan was around 50,
Right.
6 overs, then the next 14 overs Rizwan could then play freely. You saw that he can even hit sixes.
Right.
But that is what I've been saying, that if you ask Rizwan to bat in number 6 in T20s, he won't be able to do much, because he's not the sort of player who will straight away go and hit you sixes. He's the sort of player who will take time. And where do you get time in T20s? When you open. That's the only time a batsman gets a little bit of a sort of a leeway to get settled and, feel the ball on his bat, and, just sort of see what the bowler's doing. And by the time the power play ends, if he's still on the crease, he's still not out, Rizwan, he's
Right.
in a fantastic position to move on and get those 80s and hundreds, and that's such a beautiful thing for Pakistan. I mean, I think that's the best thing that's happened to Pakistan in a while.
Right. Thank you so very much, Lina, for your kind input with regards to the cricket world. I'll surely, once again, have you on my show very soon again. Thank you again. And yes, that was the update with regards to the cricket situation. We also talked about the COVID situation, how it's impacting the teams. But anyways, that was from the world of cricket. Not to forget that we're jumping over to the Australian Open, as discussed earlier, as Djokovic actually made through to the semi-finals. But not to forget that, to discuss that, we have Sara Mehboob Khan. And Sara Mehboob Khan is a leading female tennis player in Pakistan who actually started her journey since she was 14. And she's actually won almost, 19 national titles and medals in the 2019 South Asian Game. Sara, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure. All right, Sara. So with regards to the whole situation, as you know, the COVID situation is also happening. We'll start with discussing Djokovic, making it through to the semi-finals, despite the fact that he still had injuries, even while jumping into the quarterfinals. It was definitely told that he still had that injury, but he managed to recover. How do you see the Australian Open going so far?
Honestly, so far, I think we've seen a lot of really interesting matches, and especially with Djokovic, we're usually not used to seeing him play five sets matches so early in the tournament. Usually, we see them more in the semifinals or finals, but to see him battle it out the other day in the fourth round against Taylor Fritz, five sets. I mean, I don't think anyone was expecting that.
Right.
I mean, obviously, all the credit goes to Taylor Fritz. I mean, he played absolutely amazing, and I don't think Djokovic was expecting that level of tennis
Right.
from Fritz that day. But yeah, I mean, of course, that being said, I mean, he was struggling with injuries as well, and you know how hard it is at the Australian Open right now, and with players not having enough match practice going into the tournament, that maybe had something to do with it as well. Um, but you know, the thing with injuries is that if Djokovic feels like he's not fit, he's not going to be playing on the court. So if
Right.
he's on the court, that means he's fit enough to play. So I
Right.
don't think that we can, you know, talk about his injuries too much. I mean, if he's on the court, he's fit. So it was a really amazing match. But he's looking pretty good right now.
Right. So not only Djokovic, quick word about Rafael Nadal as well, if you want to add something with regard to his performance so far.
Oh, Nadal is absolutely mechanical right now. I was actually watching his match right now. He's playing Tsitsipas. They're playing for the fourth set right now as we speak.
Right.
And I was just discussing it with my father earlier that I hardly saw him hit a single unforced error in the whole match. If Tsitsipas was winning points, it was because he was playing amazing, not because Nadal was making unforced errors. So he's, I feel like, playing the best that he has in a long time. He's hitting the ball really, really well. He's looking really good on the court right now. So all the Federer fans out there, I was
Right.
actually discussing it the other day that they should be very scared because वो record जो Federer का है, the 20 Grand Slams, the one that they've equaled right now,
Right.
that's in danger of breaking as well if Nadal keeps playing the way he is right now.
You know, sometimes I see Roger Federer's situation and Rafael Nadal's situation as Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi situation across the globe.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, their rivalry is second to none. Nadal and Federer. I mean, people talk about the Connors and McEnroe rivalry as well, which was really great at that time. But I feel like Federer and Nadal have really raised the bar high with their rivalry. I mean, you've seen how it's been with them over the last almost two decades or 15 years. You know,
Right.
so it's pretty incredible. It's too bad Federer is not playing right now, but most probably it's going to be a Djokovic Nadal final. We'll see.
True. Looking forward to that. Anyways, with regards to the women's side, let's come to Serena Williams, obviously pacing herself through and through to the whole situation of ensuring that she manages to get the title. How do you see that in her situation?
You know, Serena has been chasing that title. Well, not just the title, but she's been chasing this record for a really long time to hold the most Grand Slam wins.
Right.
You know, so far she's been ending up just short. पिछले साल भी हमने देखा था.
Right.
And this year, I mean, you can see she's pretty single-minded. She's playing really, really well. She had a really tough one against Sabalenka the other day, I believe, and
Right.
then she beat Halep 6-3, 6-3, pretty straightforward. I mean, she looks like she means business. I mean, even after having her baby, there's like absolutely no stopping her. She's hitting the ball incredibly clean right now, and her serve is humongous. I mean, it gives her so many free points. So I don't know. I have a feeling maybe this Australian Open could be it for her. I have a
Right.
feeling.
And an interesting factor that I'm going to discuss right now is something that I already discussed as well on the show, the COVID-19 situation, the protocols, because we've seen people actually crashing down. We've seen a few players who've actually literally cried their heart out after losing. How do you see that impacting individuality as sportsmen?
I think it has had a huge effect. I mean, because, you know, I always say that to be an athlete at that level, it's not just about how well you can hit a tennis ball. It's about so many other things. It's about how you manage yourself mentally. And with COVID, I think it's been a huge challenge for everyone. And that's actually the reason why Federer didn't play the Australian Open, because he just wasn't willing to quarantine for 2 weeks. He has a family. He has 4 kids. He said, I'm not in that situation where I can do that. And it takes a huge mental toll, you know. A lot of people haven't been able to practice the way that they like to practice. And then there are some players that play better when they play a lot of matches. So they haven't been able to play that many matches, and that also takes away from their sort of the edge that they have. So it's been really tough for a lot of players, I'm sure.
Right. Sarah, thank you so much for being on the show and discussing the entire perspective with regards to the Australian Open. We'll definitely have you on board again soon.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
And yes, she's also provided us information with regards to what's happening there. Anyways, what we'll do is we'll take a quick break and then we'll be right back. See you guys after the break. Yes, and welcome back from the break. And as we discussed about the Australian Open, not to forget that we're going to talk more about the NBA side. Yes, with regards to the NBA world, Boston Celtics actually defeated the Denver Nuggets by 112 to 99. And to discuss this, we have Abbas Abid all the way from the US to discuss more about the NBA. Abbas, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Avandar, for having me.
Let-
And this game, the Boston Celtics and the Denver Nuggets,
Yeah.
this was definitely a premier game as far as the East and the West Coast matchups are concerned, because the NBA is divided into the two conferences. And here, a lot of people say that the Western Conference is much more powerful than the Eastern Conference, and the teams here are much better and more competitive as compared to the Eastern Conference.
Right.
But the results today were totally different from what actually people perceived, as the Boston Celtics from the East defeated the Denver Nuggets from the West.
Right.
And it was again the duo of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
Right.
Both of them contributing with 27 points, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum with 21 points. And then Jaylen Brown had 5 rebounds and 5 assists to go with his 27 points.
Right.
Again, Nikola Jokic, who's been in the race for the MVP,
Right.
had 43 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists. A pretty heavy game, but it was in vain because they lost to their Eastern Conference matchup.
Right. So how do you see this entire perspective? Let's talk about the MVP, as you just mentioned, that the top 5 that are currently running for the MVP. How do you see that impacting, and the players playing to ensure that they get to the point of that MVP?
Well, that's a wonderful question, and that's like $100 question if you ask me, because everyone is guessing the whole year who's going to win the MVP, and everyone has their own takes, because the MVP is decided by the vote of the media members who vote for the best player who was there throughout the season. And then there are the top 5 picks that I would say. Number 1, I would like to talk about Nikola Jokic, because he just played in Denver yesterday.
Right.
And Nikola Jokic is a beast, because he's the best passing big man in the history of the NBA. We have never seen a big guy who plays the position of a center pass the ball so well and make all his teammates better. And Nikola Jokic has this ability. And then he has that Sambo shuffle shot where he takes a step back and hits a one-footer jump shot over his opponents, is kind of unstoppable. So he's making a really strong case for the MVP. The only thing that's bothering him is that his team is in number 7 seed out west. So
Right.
it kind of puts him in the lower seed. But we all know that the Western Conference is pretty stiff, and you have to fight for whatever you get in terms of the matchups and in terms of your standings.
Right.
Number 2, we have out east Joel Embiid. So Joel Embiid is again a monster, a center position, a big guy who can do lots and lots of stuff, as we see the new age of basketball where all the players can do a lot of different things, and the center is just not focusing on playing near the rim. So he is, if you talk about it, he is one of the best quarter shooting center in the league. I have a stat right here which says that he is 56.8% from 4.8 mid-range shots that he takes per game. Now, to put that into perspective for everyone to understand, since the NBA started tracking zone-based shooting in 1997, the only player who's taking at least 4 shots from the mid-range and who has a better percentage than Joel Embiid currently was the greatest shooter in the history, Steph Curry. So after Steph Curry, if you talk about the mid-range shooting, Joel Embiid comes right next to Steph Curry. That's how good he actually is.
Right.
But then again, moving on to the next one, we have the big one here. That's LeBron James for you. LeBron James is always in the most valuable player contention. His name is always there. One of the reasons he doesn't get it every year is people kind of get bored of him getting that LeBron James is going again and again for the MVP race. But right now, he's again chasing greatness. He is going for his 5th MVP. If he
Right.
wins his 5th MVP, he will tie Michael Jordan for 5 regular season MVP awards. And that again always puts the GOAT or the greatest of all time discussion back into perspective. Right now he has 25.5 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 1.1 steal, and he's extremely, extremely efficient.
Right.
Also, one of the best teammates that he had, Anthony Davis, has been out of the team due to multiple injuries. He's currently having a Achilles soreness due to which he cannot play. And LeBron James, again, as always, is putting the team on his back and carrying them forward. Now, once again, he is the only player in the NBA. If he goes and sits on the bench, his team has a negative net rating. If he goes to the bench, his team goes down all of a sudden.
Right.
Then we have Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Steph Curry, all of us know he's a great player. The young ones who play basketball are huge fans of Steph Curry because he changed the game for good. He's in the contention because he's carrying the Warriors on his back.
Right.
When their center got injured, Steph Curry is putting, in the last 8 games, he's putting staggering numbers. There are 36.3 points per game, and he's from the 3-point line, he's shooting 49.5%, like almost 50% from the 3-point shot, which is unheard of, unseen, and unbelievable. So he's making his case for the MVP race. And in the end, we have Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard has 26.7 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 1.8 steals. But the only thing that hurts Kawhi Leonard and again Joel Embiid are their consistency. I talk about this all the time, that the best thing you can do for your team is be there every single day. And then there are people like Iron Man, LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, who are there every single night, and night in and night out they perform for their team. So this is the ladder, and no one knows what's going to happen. But again, if I have to pick 3 out of these 5, I'll pick LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Nikola Jokic.
Right. How about we talk about, it's an interesting take with regards to the MVP, and how about we talk about, James Harden. Let's talk about the trade of James Harden and how much impact has it really made so far?
I see what you did there, Alamdar. You were saving the best for the last.
Right.
I think it's a topic of discussion. Any basketball fan that you talk to or you talk about the James Harden trade, they can go for hours and hours about this. So the James Harden trade, if putting it into perspective, James Harden has always been a great player. There is no need for me putting up his resume for someone, because for anyone out there, because everyone knows who James Harden is. Last year, James Harden averaged 34 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists with the Rockets. 34 points.
Right.
That's a great number. But then if you pick him up and you trade him and you put it to a team which already has 2 superstars, a blockbuster superstar team with a trade involving 4 different teams, that's how James Harden landed between the mammoths of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
Right.
I wouldn't be wrong if I say that this might be one of the biggest trade of the last decade, because we have never seen such big superstars shuffle teams in the NBA just like that with their trade. Putting into perspective of how good the other players are, we all know Kevin Durant is the one with the best handles in the NBA for a 7-footer. He's 7 foot tall, 7'5" wingspan. He just dribbles up to you and goes for a pull-up right over you from the free throw line. And the only thing you can do, Alamdar, is pray that it doesn't go in. And he seldom misses. On the other hand, he has Kyrie Irving with him, who is a wizard with the basketball. He has finishes both sides of the rim with his right hand, left hand, corkscrew, up and under, complete layup package, and a dribbling with the ball attached to a string. He makes the basketball court look like a skating rink, and he's putting people on skates every now and then. So this is such a good offensive team that James Harden has joined. And it puts their offense on a spectacular level. Astronomically, their offense increases with the addition of James Harden. But this is what I always tell all the players, whether junior players or senior players. I know people will be watching this show in Pakistan and internationally around the world. This is one thing which I want to teach them from today's talk of mine here. Basketball is a two-way sport. So when you step on the basketball floor, there are 2 ends. One is offensive and one is defensive end. If you're playing football, you have defenders who do the defense, and then you have strikers who score the goals for you. This is not basketball. In basketball, there are only 5 players. All 5 of them have to do both things, offense and defense. So this team is really, really good offensively because they have all the offense in place. But the only thing where they can struggle is their defense. And to be honest, all 3 of them cannot guard any player if their life dependent on it. I mean, Kevin Durant is really good, but for Kyrie Irving and James Harden to guard players, superstars during the playoffs will be a mammoth of a task, and that will be really, really interesting for everyone to watch.
Awesome. One last question before we go. A quick take on the AllStar Game. Quick take.
Okay, so the All-Star game this year has been pretty interesting because it had been in the jeopardy. When the season started, they said there will be no All-Star game, and then the Players Association decided that there will be an All-Star game. But then some players in the Players Association, even LeBron James, said that they don't want to play. Now consider this: LeBron James clearly said that he don't want to play the All-Star game because he wants to use that break for his body to heal from all the injuries he's been carrying. Still, he is the #1 vote getter in the All-Star team. So out west, most probably, if we end the voting today, LeBron James will be the captain of the Western team, and then Kevin Durant will be the captain of the Eastern team. And according to the new format, both of these players will select their teams old school, like one goes after the other. They'll pick all the players, and that will be one hell of a match to watch.
Awesome.
And everyone is looking forward
That's
to it.
so awesome, Abbas, for your intake all on the NBA side. Thank you so much for being on the show with us and educating us. All the best. So that was the world of NBA. Not to forget that we've actually given you the cricket side, the Australian Open side, and not to forget the NBA side. Anyways, guys, you can reach us on our social media handle, which is @Indus News Sports. Till then, take good care of yourself, and bye-bye.